Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to go over the altcoins in the native crypto space. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so this is for you, Reka P. Since you asked for Filecoin render in AIOZ, we're going to go over that in this video. So let's first start out with Filecoin. As you guys know, that's actually our largest position. Again, this is a no way financial advice. We're not signaling to buy, sell, or hold anything. If you guys want these for yourselves, do your due diligence, do your own research, understand what you're getting into, understand that crypto is risky. There is a lot of unknowns in crypto. And just do your own due diligence. We're just investing in this because we believe in it. What you guys choose to do with your money, again, is your choice. So the thing I'd like to say here is that we do have a total invested amount into native crypto, all in roughly about $17,000 or $18,000. It's a lot, but again, the altcoin season really hasn't started. So let's go ahead and get into Filecoin here. So Filecoin, you can see the current price is $6.12. If I'm not mistaken, I actually hold on, I gotta close this window and pull up our crypto spreadsheet that we have on Excel, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe our average cost is about $8.50 a token, so it's actually quite low compared to the all-time highs. So if I show you guys the all-time highs here, you guys can see, if I really zoom in here, you can see that this price is not actually accurate, but it's much higher than it was. It was $189 at the peak. If I go over to the market cap, you guys can see the market cap was absolutely bonkers compared to what it currently is. So $12 billion compared to whatever the previous all-time low was. So all-time low, maybe $1 billion. So this thing went up by about a 12x. And again, the market cap went up by a 12x, but the coin went up exponentially more. That's kind of how crypto works. Same thing with Bitcoin. If I'm not mistaken, I think it only takes like $90 million or something like that to move Bitcoin up 1%. Again, it's probably calculated based on whatever the current price is at the time, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe that is how it works. So let's see, Filecoin here. Yeah, so we have 3,300 in Filecoin. Average cost is about $8.50 a share or a token. So as of right now, it's our cost basis is pretty low. But again, we understand how the cycles work, so we planned accordingly. So $6.12 right now. The thing I'd like to point out here is that in the previous bull cycle, Dogecoin at the peak was at $90 billion. So in my opinion, I think Filecoin could probably go all the way up to, I would say, probably maybe an 8x the current price. So maybe 24, 25 billion. I don't think that's a stretch. Especially with all the institutions getting involved now with the spot ETFs and all that jazz. I don't think that's really a stretch, if I'm being completely honest. And I expect the altcoin market cap to be bigger at the peak this time than it was at the peak last cycle. So even if I was just to reflect and say, well, okay, the increase in market cap will measure exactly the increase in the price. So an 8x on a 3.4 billion market cap would be, well, we basically figured the numbers out here. So 3.4 times 8, you'd be looking at about 27 billion. I don't think that's a stretch, to be honest. Again, Filecoin is a DePIN project. So a 6 times 8x would put Filecoin at $48. Again, I do not think that's a stretch. If I actually go over here to categories, just show you guys that this is actually on the list of DePIN projects. And again, we don't usually go over native crypto too heavy on this channel. We're more focused on a lot of other things, but you guys can see that here's all your major DePIN projects. Okay, so you have Render, that's one that we're going to talk about today. Filecoin, of course, we just talked about that. The Graph, Jasmy Coin, those are all tokens that we used to have or we currently have. AIOZ, that's another one, and the list just kind of goes on and on and on and on. A lot of different selections here. The thing I'd like to point out in terms of the market cap for the actual categorization of this particular set of projects, DePIN, is that the market cap, as you guys can see, currently is only 28 billion. Okay, it's still relatively small, right? If we look at the meme coin category, the meme coin category is more than 2x. So memes are at 61 billion, whereas DPIN's at only 28 billion. And again, DPIN is kind of the real life utilization of some of these projects, integrating with actual infrastructure, if I'm not mistaken. But if we take a look at something like the Layer 1 solutions market cap, you can see this thing is just absolutely ridiculous. So this thing is 2.1 trillion with a T. So that's almost the entire crypto market space. So there is a lot of potential room for the DPIN category to run during this particular bull cycle, if you ask me. So Filecoin, as you guys know, I can point this out one more time. So Filecoin is kind of higher up there in market cap. So maybe it, based on the market cap and the ranking, it may not necessarily be able to go up as much as something like AIOZ, for example, because theoretically, the smaller the market cap, the lower it is on the leaderboards of CoinGecko, and therefore the larger the move, because the smaller the market cap, the higher the move, but the higher the risk. That's usually how it works. So Render, same thing. It's kind of up there in market cap, so 3.5 billion. Because this is an AI project, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say that it's a possibility this thing could do a 10x even at the current price. So if I was just to say a 10x times the current price, that would basically put this at $90. Again, there's no guarantees this is going to happen. I'm just saying if it did 10x, the market cap would be at 35 billion. And again, 35 billion is much smaller than Dogecoin was at the peak of its market cap, which was 90 billion in the previous cycle. So again, it has a rank of 33. Ideally, if you're looking for the most asymmetrical bet, usually what you want to look for is a quality project that is much lower on the market cap. So like your top 100, top 200, top 300, something like that. Anything in the top 100 is going to be a little bit safer, but the return might also be less too. So there is that to understand. So you can see AIOZ is currently only 720 million. Again, if I were just to say, well, I think AIOZ can do a 40x, which again, I do think AIOZ can do a 40x based on the market cap. So it's 720 million times a 40x. That wouldn't be a stretch. 28 billion, $29 billion. Again, that is smaller than a 10x on Render. And the market cap would also still be smaller than Render too. And when we see the alt season, which again, in my opinion, has not actually happened yet, what we saw the last 6 months was kind of like a warm up to the alt season, or DeFi summer of 2020 is how I would compare this. But when we do see the major alt season, pretty much anything and everything that is considered even remotely valuable is going to go up in price. We saw things like Digibyte and Tron and Bitcoin Gold and projects that nobody even talks about going up 5, 10, 15x in the last cycle. So that should kind of give you an idea of what's possible. But if I were to do a 40x on the price of AIOZ, as you guys can see, it would be it'd be a pretty substantial increase. So $26.40. Again, I think that's possible. I mean, Filecoin just went absolute bonkers last cycle. It went from a low of, I can't even remember what the price was. It was super low, like a few bucks or maybe even 50 cents or something, all the way up to $260. So with something like AIOZ, that's kind of, it's a triple threat, so to speak. So it's a low cap altcoin. Anything outside the 100, top 100, in my opinion, is lower market cap, which makes it potentially a higher gain. It's an AI project and it's a DPIN project. All those things combined potentially could lead to some seriously explosive gains. Again, not financial advice. It's not a guarantee. I'm just kind of pointing that out to y'all. So we'll get into the market cap here real quick, and then we'll get into the actual altcoins. So I'm not going to cover every altcoin in this video. I'll cover all of them in a later video, but there is some other things that I'd like to point out here. So total 3, we are in a bull trend, as a matter of fact, on total 3. So pretty much ever since we had this golden cross back here in October, you guys can see this thing just absolutely lifted. It was not messing around. I mean, it basically destroyed every single resistance you could think of, up 132%. The only thing I'd like to point out here as a warning is that we do have some bearish divergence. So RSI MACD moving down, whereas price is moving up. That's not always a great sign. But it doesn't necessarily guarantee that it has to sell off. It's just kind of an early warning sign to look out for a potential what if that's what you want to call it. But you guys can see the market cap was like much, much higher in the previous cycle. So we're not even close to the previous all-time highs. It would still be another 2x from the current price. So the total market cap, this includes all of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all of the altcoins. You can see we're approaching all-time highs on the market cap, but we're still not there. So we kind of have this kind of rounding up formation, unless this turns into an M pattern, which is a bearish pattern. If it's simply kind of a what I like to refer to as a topless P, it's kind of a weird sounding name, I know, but it's actually a bullish pattern. So it's doing something very similar to Bitcoin. Okay, so we get this drop down, pull back into the EMAs, and then ideally a spike, kind of like a breakout from this downtrend, if you will, and then a move up. If I were to go over to Bitcoin, you can see a very, very similar pattern here. So Bitcoin, again, kind of the topless P, or in this case, I just simply call it a bull flag because that's what it is, but you can measure it however you want. So very similar setup. It does appear that the total one market cap is waiting to actually break out as a result of Bitcoin. But if I were just to go ahead and do something like this, for example, you can see that we could potentially be looking at a bull flag here on also the total one. So it's a little bit more obvious on the monthly. As you can see, here's the flag pole right here. So this big fat green candle before we entered into the flag is the flag pole. If I were just to measure it from the bottom of the flag to the target, 3.52 trillion. If it breaks out and the target is basically from the breakout of the flag to the top, 4.5 trillion could potentially be the market cap for this thing. So next thing I want to point out here is Bitcoin dominance. So Bitcoin dominance, you can see that the histogram is kind of moving to a lighter shade of green here. That's an indication of early potential warning sign of a bearish pattern forming here on the monthly. If that is the case, then the way this would kind of play out is Bitcoin would just chop around sideways, which is pretty much already doing right now after all-time highs, which did happen. And then we would go into an alt season. If that was the case, then theoretically we'd be in a left translated cycle. But again, I don't think Bitcoin's actually going to hit its true all-time high until closer towards the end of the year because of elections and Fed rate cuts. And that's usually when Bitcoin goes to all-time highs. And of course, there's the pi cycle top indicator. We showed you guys that once it breaks above that green trend line, that's usually when the final move for Bitcoin comes. And we're kind of just bobbing in between the trend lines at this point. So I still think we're a little bit early. Plus, we also had this bump up back on the Bitcoin dominance. So if we see a sell-off, basically you see this succession of consecutive red candles going down like this. That would indicate a very strong signal that we're in basically an alt season. So it would look something kind of like this. So break down below the EMAs, chop sideways, which is kind of what we're seeing now. And then boom, just an absolute sell-off waterfall moment that would be indicative of an alt season to come. So we're kind of seeing the breakdown and then the chop sideways phase right now. We'll just have to keep a lookout for the potential sell-off. So there is something I actually wanted to look at with you guys here. I don't know if this is actually going to show up. So yeah, okay. So we have ETH Bitcoin. This is the ETH Bitcoin pair. So this is going to be a different chart. I don't usually do like layovers and stuff like that, but we're going to do it here. So pretty much what we're looking for is we're looking for some kind of breakdown and or a golden cross. I just draw it right here. So a golden cross, something like that right there. And then pretty much an uptrend to be formed in order for us to go higher on the altcoin market. So usually when this thing goes down, that means Bitcoin is going up in value in comparison to ETH. When this thing goes up, Ethereum and the altcoins are going up in value compared to Bitcoin. When this chart goes down, that indicates Bitcoin dominance. When this chart goes up, that indicates altcoin dominance, okay? So pretty much what we're looking for here is, as you guys can see, this thing has been going down consistently for a long time. That indicates Bitcoin dominance, which we did see on basically the BTC.D. The Bitcoin dominance was going up on that chart, whereas ETH Bitcoin is going down. Basically, Ethereum and the altcoins are bleeding to Bitcoin. So as of right now, we still have to break this downtrend, and then we need to get that golden cross, as you guys can see back here. This right here, along with the break of the downtrend, those two combined, plus a potential beginning forming of an uptrend, would be the strong indication that we would be in alt season. And alts are about to absolutely fly, and we're just not seeing that yet. So we're still in the downtrend, no golden cross, no uptrend forming, no break of structure. Again, we need to get a candle close above 0.37 to see a break in structure. We have not seen that yet, plus a breakout of the trend line. Okay, so that covers the macros. Now let's go ahead and get into the actual coins. And I point this out for y'all just so you guys can understand the kind of the implications of how different things in the crypto space have implications on different altcoins and Bitcoin and all that jazz, so you guys can really understand what's going on. Okay, so Filecoin. The thing I wanted to point out about Filecoin is, as you guys can see, when it hit the lows back here, it really wasn't any lower than the lows in 2018. So the first thing that tells me is that it's possible Filecoin could actually go all the way back up to $238. That's possible, okay? Because the lows back here were pretty much almost exactly, so 230 back here, it's pretty much where this low back here was at 240. So we saw a break of the downtrend line, and what we're now looking for is basically for the price to kind of ride the EMAs. As you guys can see, it did for a little while, but then we got a breakdown. So not great. We are in kind of this bear flag pattern. Again, the bear flag target is kind of ugly, I'm not going to lie. So, I mean, yeah, if this thing sells off, it could sell off all the way back down to the support at 326 per token. If that happens, I can pretty much assure you guys that we're very likely going to be picking this up. So pretty much we got to break of the trend line. Want to see it ride the EMAs, get another golden cross, and then kind of break out of this resistance zone. So in terms of the move up, just from the current price to the swing high up here, I mean, this thing already would do 100% gain. So 616 all the way up to 1235, as you guys can see. The next levels up here would be about 24 to... actually got to zoom out here for this. So 24 to about $28. So I'd like to also point out too that the all-time high up here was, I believe, roughly about $238. So if I pretty much do 238 divided by, let's say, the current price, which again is 616, you'd be looking at about a 38, almost a 39x on your money. Even if this thing just does a 10x, in my opinion, it's a good deal. I mean, we have, 3,300 in this. If it does a 10x, it goes to 33,000. So that's pretty substantial. In terms of pullback targets, so potentially around this $5 zone would be a good zone. Again, you kind of have some candle bottoms here. That's usually where buyers and wicks like this, where buyers look to kind of scoop up the dip, so to speak. Any of these wicks is usually a buying opportunity. Like this wick right here, you can see it got bought up all along here. This wick and this wick right here got bought up and shot straight up, and then it got bought up again here. So it's pretty obvious by the charts that would be the first good signal, would be around $4.50 to $5. Anything below that, I would say probably at least at the start of the support at about 323. So now going into, let's see here, Render would be the next one. Let's find where Render's at. And I believe Render has some kind of partnership with NVIDIA. So you already know anything that NVIDIA touches turns to gold. We already know NVIDIA is pretty much gold. So the chart is very bullish for Render. You can see we're just constantly in a bull trend here. So higher highs, higher lows, it's a very good sign. To break structure, we would need to get below the support box, which we have not seen yet. So a pullback to $6 to about $7.50 is possible. Again, the all-time high up here is at 1440 is roughly going to be about the target. So pretty much from the current price to the all-time highs, 56%. If we were to get a pullback, let's say somewhere around these wicks, top of the support, about 81%. Again, that would be at about $9. Bottom of support is going to be about $6. You'd be looking at roughly about a 2x on your money, so 133%. You guys can kind of see the support levels is between $2 to $4 and about roughly $1 to $1.50 back here. But again, it would need to get below multiple structure levels to get to that level, and I just don't see that happening. The only thing I want to point out here is the MACD death cross. That's not a great sign, but again, we are above the break-even level, so this is technically in bull territory, even though there's a MACD death cross. So I want to also give you guys the Fibonacci levels here for this particular project. So Fibonacci levels from swing high to swing low. Just to show you guys where the next potential maximum target here would be about $38, $39. So pretty big move up, roughly about a 4x. Again, it's not guaranteed to make that move, but as you guys can see, so from the first move, it did eventually hit it, not right away. So we pretty much got to the 1.618 on the first move. 3.618 on the second move, and then broke out of the 4.618 on the last move. And if I were just to, let's say, measure this one from the low to the high, so we actually kind of went slightly above it on this move. So we did hit the 4.2, or not 4.618, 4.236. We actually went slightly above it on that recent swing high up there. So $38, $39, that's what the fibs are saying. Time will tell. So last project I want to look at here is AIOZ. So this one is in a super bull trend. I mean, this thing is not messing around. It's extremely parabolic. So we're currently still in the bull flag formation. Again, the target for the bull flag is going to be roughly about $5.20, as you guys can see there. MACD death cross, but again, we're in the bull territory on this one, so we pretty much got the confirmation of the long-term downtrend here. Once we got out of that, like right around August 23, that was it, and then we eventually got this huge rip and a golden cross. That was an early indication this thing was going higher. I think we actually first got in at like 15 cents. We didn't get in all the way back here, but we got in kind of right in this zone. Was the first time we got in before we took profit. So if I actually measure this is also another bull flag. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's kind of another bull flag there. So two bull flag patterns, very bullish. Again, the target here is 520, or my bad. So about $5, $4.95. So if it does go up that high, I mean, that's a pretty big move. We can go ahead and calculate that right now. So $5 divided by 66 cents, you're looking at a 7.5x. I mean, if you put $1,000 in, it could potentially go to 7,500. Again, that's not financial advice. You guys do what you want to with your own money. Now, in terms of the Fibonacci retracements, so if I were just to do a local Fibonacci retracement, you guys can see that it is actually not as high as the bull flag pattern. So $2.71 pretty much would be the all-time high up here. However, if I do the macro Fibonacci retracement, which gives us a much, much higher price target, that's kind of like an ultimate price target. You know, I'm not even sure actually if this did measure correctly. Let me actually do this again. Okay, so it would appear that the Fibonacci lines up perfectly with the bull flag pattern. That's pretty weird. I don't know that I've ever seen that. So, yeah, potentially looking at a price target of $5. But again, like I said before, AIOZ is a top 200 coin. The market cap is less than $1 billion. This thing could easily do a 20x. In my opinion, I think because it's so popular, it probably will do more than that. I don't think $30 billion market cap is out of the question, especially when the Fed starts cutting rates. But, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. So anyways, this is our video on AIOZ, Render, and Filecoin, the native cryptocurrencies. Hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.